Hi guys, I'm again here, and as you can see, I still am bald. My hair has been growing quite slowly, but anyways, today I'm not going to talk about my hair or my head or hair in any way. Today I'm going to share with you my chemo experience as well as my stem cell transplant experience. Um, the chemo has probably a reputation of being quite intense treatment, especially since it's widely used to treat patients with cancer, and that's why I anticipated to be harder than it really was in the end. So I was positively surprised that the chemo wasn't that hard, wasn't that terrible at all. I was given chemo, the same dose, in 4 subsequent days in Moscow, and the dose was quite the same during of each of those days, and uh, I didn't have any immediate side effects or any reaction to the chemotherapy, which was of course good, and I was able to go through without any kind of complications, and I was feeling overall quite good during the chemotherapy infusions, which made me calm, and I didn't have to worry about anything, but you never know, anything could come up with such treatments. But for me, it was quite easy to go through. Of course, quite a few side effects from the chemo emerged shortly after the chemo doses that have been lasting even until today, and I still have some effects, and obviously this baldness is one of the many effects of chemo. But during those infusions of chemotherapy, I didn't have any complaints or weird sensations or abnormal reactions or anything. But later on, after I stopped with the chemotherapy, I had completed all the required infusions, I started to get this weird sensation in my mouth. My taste was disturbed, obviously. I wasn't able to taste food as I had earlier, and it was very disturbing, and I was afraid that I would never ever be able to taste normal again. But luckily that feeling has resolved, and I'm eating the same foods and tasting them the same as I used to, and that probably lasted for 1 month, that sensation, that symptom from the chemo. And my mucous membranes, especially in my nose, in my mouth, in my eyes, has been extremely dry, and my skin, during the treatment, I had to keep all my mucous membranes, especially in my nose, and you have to use eye drops. And I also asked the doctor in Russia. He was very kind. He gave me this apricot oil to keep my nose and my nostrils, inside of my nostrils, moist, since any dryness of the mucous membranes can make the area much more prone to infection, which is especially alarming thing when you are immunocompromised. And also my skin was breaking all the time. It was very tender and very dry. So that was definitely one of the many side effects of the chemo. I also have been having this flushing and night sweats and getting these chills, and my body temperature is undecided, doesn't know when to warm me up or when I just become this cold have this cold sensation and start getting these chills, so my body temperature is up and down. Of course, I can tell you that overall from the treatment and probably also from the chemo, I was very, very tired. But actually, I didn't sleep much during my stay in Russia. I slept only during the night. I didn't take any sleeping pills, although I was offered, but I didn't want to take any. So I just wanted to have a good night's sleep, although it was quite impossible since the steroids used to keep me up during the night and make me more energetic. So it was difficult situation, but it was yet tolerable. And also I had a little bit of nausea, but my main concern prior to my AJCT admission to the hospital, I was mainly concerned about the chemo, the part that there would possibly be vomiting and extreme nausea from the chemo. But luckily, I was able to go through the whole chemo treatment without any vomiting or just feeling extremely unwell. I just had slight nausea, and since in Russia they give a lot of anti-nausea medication just to prevent any kind of nausea, which is probably the best way to do in while having patients taking chemo infusions. So I didn't end up with any severe nausea, which made me really happy, because nausea is something I cannot tolerate at all. And that's why probably my chemotherapy experience was quite positive, and I would definitely do it again if I really had to, and without any fears or concerns. So it was much easier than I thought it would be. But then, of course, it's probably the most important thing, of course, after the chemo, because chemo is the main component of the treatment and the efficacy of the treatment. 15th of February, I had my stem cell transplant, and it was quite intense, and luckily only lasted for about 7 minutes, and I have just compressed the video file I had of 7 minutes into 1 minute, so you can see the core actions and the core components and the core idea of the transplant here. So as you can see, it was quite intense and looking quite uncomfortable, and even to me it's difficult to watch that video, that clip over and over again. I watched it once, and while I was editing, it was definitely difficult to do it because it brought back some very intense sensations and moments, although it didn't last that long, luckily. and that was probably due to that fact that I only had one bag of stem cells, which made it a lot easier, because some people do get more, have to go through with more than one bag of stem cells, since their collection took more than 1 day. But luckily, I was able to go through the stem cell transplant in just a few doses that were injected through my CVC line into my system. And I can tell you that the transplant was something else that I expected. But since all the staff, all the medical staff in Russia, they are extremely experienced doing these transplants to patients, and I had no hesitations to go with it. And luckily, I just survive it, and I didn't have any complication. It just wasn't the most comfortable feeling. I felt mainly the symptoms I experienced during the transplant were very pungent tomato taste coming from the stem cells that were infused into my neckline, and that sensation and that smell and taste was very overpowering. And then I also had this very strong pressure feeling, sensation of pressure, and I felt this huge, like I like a huge weight had been dropped on my chest. And of course, I've never experienced a heart attack, but I would suppose that heart attack would feel something like the sensation I felt, and most people feel during the transplant. It was very uncomfortable, and I had to take some extra oxygen just to breathe and try to calm. And I felt very nauseous, and tried to stay calm. Or it was quite difficult, since the overall the feeling was very uncomfortable, and I felt this strong pressure that just didn't seem to go away, although in reality it just lasted for a few minutes, but to me it felt like an eternity. But it was over, and I was able to receive my healthy stem cells, and now I have my stem cells, and I hope they will behave and give me many healthy cells, immune cells to live with and to go on with my days. So I guess this was it, and I just share with you my stem cell experience and my chemo experience, and there are also some later parts of the HACT I will discuss more in my next vlog. So thank you for watching, thank you for your support, and I wish you a lovely rest of the day. So bye bye.